Welcome back to the channel where ordinary families hide extraordinary secrets, and every betrayal comes with a price. Today's story dives into a world where a birthday celebration turns into a public humiliation. A brother becomes a pawn, and a husband quietly pulls the strings from the shadows. Behind closed doors, whispers sharpen into weapons, loyalties crumble, and the truth finally erupts in the most explosive way imaginable. If you're ready for hidden affairs, stolen money, family manipulation, and a revenge so precise it shakes an entire legacy, then you're in the right place. Let's begin. The night was supposed to be simple. Cake, candles, the familiar warmth of a family gathered for a father's birthday. But the air felt strange from the moment the front door opened. Smiles looked stretched, conversations clipped, and every glance felt like it carried its own secret. Still, nothing prepared anyone for what happened when the brother stood up, cleared his throat, and delivered the kind of blow that knocks the breath out of a room. He announced in front of everyone that the house built with years of sacrifice, tears, and quiet endurance, was no longer a place where the rightful owner was welcome, that it was time to move out because decisions had been made. Decisions that somehow no one had bothered to mention until the moment the cake knife was about to cut into frosting. The shock was a physical thing, sharp, hot, humiliating. But behind the brother's stiff posture and carefully rehearsed words, something else flickered. Something calculated. That was the moment it became clear he wasn't acting alone. There was a puppeteer behind him, someone who had been planting seeds in the dark for months, the husband. He sat there with the same expression he always wore in moments he engineered. The mask of innocence stretched just thin enough to hide the satisfaction underneath. His hand rested too casually on his knee, and his eyes didn't widen in surprise the way everyone else's did. He already knew, of course he knew, this wasn't a brother's betrayal. It was an echo of whispers whispered into the wrong ears, at the wrong times, by the wrong man. Looking back, the signs had been there. The sudden shift in the brother's attitude, the unexpected phone calls, the way the husband lingered in conversations with family members, speaking softly enough to seem harmless but long enough to plant suspicion. The small disagreements that seemed to grow bigger only when he was in the room. The distance that developed between people who once shared everything. It had all been part of something larger, something designed to isolate and weaken. Every smile at that table felt like it had been painted on with trembling hands. Even the father, confused and aging faster than anyone wanted to admit, looked around the room as though searching for the truth in faces that no longer looked familiar. The room was full of people who once believed in loyalty, yet now sat complicit in the moment someone was being stripped of belonging. While the cake grew cold and untouched, the shock twisted into something else clarity. The husband's fingers tapped rhythmically on his thigh, a quiet reminder of the control he believed he had mastered. Control over perceptions, control over emotions, control over the narrative. He had turned a birthday celebration into a public execution of dignity, and he thought the humiliation would break everything left inside. But betrayal has a strange way of sharpening what was once soft. Silence has a way of gathering strength, and the moment the brother's announcement echoed into stillness, the truth took root. This was not the end he thought he created. It was the beginning of his unraveling. The shift didn't happen overnight. It came quietly, slipping into the house the way a cold draft does, unnoticed at first, then impossible to ignore. Conversations that once flowed easily were suddenly cut short when footsteps approached. Doors that were always open began to close softly but deliberately. The warmth that defined the family started thinning out, leaving a strange chill in its place. It felt like something unseen was crawling beneath the surface, twisting familiar bonds into something unrecognizable. The husband played his part with unsettling precision. He didn't push, not openly. He didn't accuse, not directly. Instead, he planted doubts like seeds, one by one, in the minds of the people who were supposed to stand as protectors. A subtle comment here, a sympathetic sigh there, a concerned shake of the head at just the right moment. Every word of his was dipped in half-truths, just believable enough to be accepted, just poisonous enough to spread. The family started looking with different eyes, ones tinted by the stories he carefully crafted. A harmless action suddenly became suspicious. A simple comment was twisted into disrespect. A moment of exhaustion was painted as neglect. Slowly, loyalties began to shift. The once solid foundation of trust cracked without a sound. The cold shoulders came next. A cousin who used to share every detail of life now avoided even making eye contact. An aunt who once praised every accomplishment suddenly questioned every decision. Even the father, the one person who always stayed above the mess, grew strangely quiet around him. They didn't know they were being manipulated. They didn't realize they were repeating words he had whispered into their ears during private moments he insisted were for their concern. They just believed him. That was the part that cut the deepest. The brother, though, became the easiest target. He had always been sensitive to others' opinions, always eager to prove himself. The husband saw that weakness immediately. It wasn't long before the brother started parroting phrases that didn't sound like his own. Complaints that had never existed suddenly came pouring out of him. His anger felt rehearsed, his resentment strangely timed. The husband fed him a version of reality designed to make him believe he was the victim in a story that never belonged to him. By the time the birthday incident happened, it became painfully clear that everything had been building toward that moment. The announcement that should have never come wasn't just a sudden act of cruelty. It was the finale to a plan crafted behind closed doors and carried out by people who didn't realize they were being used. Underneath it all lived the truth. The husband couldn't stand losing control. Every accomplishment, every connection, every moment of independence felt like a threat to the power he clung to. Jealousy fueled him, fear guided him, and dominance became the prize he couldn't afford to lose. So he did what manipulators always do. He turned love into a weapon and family into an army. But even the most carefully constructed lies eventually crack, and the first fracture is always the one they never see coming. The fallout from the birthday betrayal didn't settle quietly the way the husband expected. It didn't crush anything. It ignited something far more dangerous: clarity, anger, and a determination that no amount of manipulation could control. The humiliation he tried to stage became the spark that lit the path toward exposing every secret he believed would stay buried. What he didn't know was that the moment he chose to weaponize the house, he created the perfect place for his own unraveling. It started with small discoveries: papers left out, phone notifications that appeared when he thought the screen was dim, conversations he whispered into the phone late at night. The lies were never as airtight as he imagined. One message became a thread to pull, then another, and then another. Every pull loosened a different piece of the life he pretended to build. The first truth to surface was the affairs, plural. Messages dripping with flirtation, promises he thought would never see daylight, excuses he recycled like clockwork. They laid themselves out like evidence in a crime scene he created with his own hands. Then came the financial secrets: money missing from joint accounts, quiet transfers made in odd hours, savings siphoned into places no one knew existed. The same man who once lectured about responsibility and control had been hiding debts, payments, and deals made behind closed doors. Every receipt, every bank alert, every unexplained withdrawal built the case he never wanted anyone to find. But the deepest wound wasn't the affairs or the money. It was the proof of manipulation, the screenshots, the recordings, the messages sent to the family designed to twist perceptions and pit loved ones against each other. The family he pretended to protect became puppets he controlled with carefully chosen lies. Reading his words felt like watching him stab trust with a smile. Gathering everything wasn't hard. It was almost too easy. He had underestimated the strength he tried so hard to suppress. The house he used as leverage became the perfect stage for the truth. It was there, in the living room where the birthday humiliation happened, that everything was laid out. Phones placed on the table, printouts spread across the floor, voices shaking, faces changing as reality crashed into the room. The family that once turned cold now turned silent, then red with shame. The brother who delivered the betrayal looked sick as he realized he had been nothing more than a pawn. Every lie the husband whispered into their ears was exposed in his own messages, written in his own words, dripping with the intent to isolate and dominate. There was no denying anything, not this time. What followed wasn't chaos, it was justice. Loyalty snapped, reputations fell apart. The image the husband crafted so carefully of the loving partner, the responsible man, the misunderstood victim, shattered like cheap glass. Everyone saw him for what he was, and the shock on his face as the truth cornered him was the most honest expression he had shown in years. The house he tried to take became the place that took him down, and nothing was more satisfying than watching the world he built on lies finally burn. If this story pulled you in with its twists, betrayals, and that unforgettable moment when the truth finally hit back, make sure to hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe for more gripping tales of deception, manipulation, and the sweet art of revenge. Turn on notifications so you never miss a new story that exposes the secrets families hope you never hear. Thanks for watching, and get ready because the next truth is even darker.